And it's Sophie. Welcome to the Crying in My Pillow podcast.
We're here to discuss our teenage struggles on a day-to-day basis.
Now grab a box of tissues, your favorite pillow, and some snacks, and let's get into it. So today we're going to talk about anxiety, some things that cause anxiety, ways to manage it, and some fun facts that are not so fun.
Okay, so first of all, what is anxiety? I feel like a lot of people just associate anxiety and stress as one thing. And while stress leads up to anxiety, it's not the same thing necessarily.
Anxiety is is obviously the thing that your body reacts to stress. It's where you can be picking at your fingers, or you bounce your leg up and down, or something it's a body movement. And so, or it can be I don't know. That's how I think of it anyway. That's a body movement.
Some people just show it differently. Some people just go deathly silent, and they just, it's kind of all in their head. And some people they can't stop fidgeting and they have to have something.
And then there's a point where you just kind of break down, when it all builds up, and there's a certain point that you just lose it.
Yeah, the tip of the iceberg of anxiety.
Okay. That's
Or it just kind of causes a panic attack.
yeah.
And then there's also a difference between a panic attack and an anxiety attack that not a lot of people get, because with the panic attack it's just random. All of a sudden you have it, and then with an anxiety attack it's the buildup. Yeah. It's all that anxiety that you have within you and all the stress, and then you just explode.
A lot of times too, people try really hard to do things so they don't have an anxiety attack, and then those things cause them to stress out because they don't have their stuff together. They don't have their crap together. So then they're like, I need to get all this in order so I'm not stressed out, but then that's still stressing me out. So then I get stressed out.
Yeah. And then some things that would give anxiety, so give us anxiety or a severe levels of stress.
School,
yeah.
With
Relationships.
It's not even necessarily just schoolwork. Yeah, it's just the whole aroma. Big important decisions that you have to make. That can be really stressful whenever you have to make an important decision, and seniors.
Yeah, I was
your
gonna say,
whole
for example,
life. Yeah.
And especially within this, we have 3 weeks till we graduate, so I'm sure I can speak for every senior. It's it's crunch time. And I'm not saying all of us seniors are procrastinators, but a lot of us are. So we wait till the last minute with everything, and now we're stressing because we have 3 weeks left, and there's prom, and there's a bunch of other stuff, and it's starting to get nights out, so it's also wedding season. There's just a lot.
Yeah. And so with all that, no matter where you are in school, if you're a freshman, a senior, a fifth grader, you can have anxiety. It doesn't matter how far along you are in your life. And as different people go through it, every single person's life's different, so you don't know what's going to necessarily trigger their anxiety. And you can't really just say, oh, well, you're 15, I don't understand why you have anxiety. I don't, why are you freaking out? Yeah, you're in high school, calm down.
Yeah. You still have your whole life ahead of you, and this kind of is off topic, but not really, but a lot of suicidal things are due to anxiety, of kids just feeling so overwhelmed, of anxiety and depression, but anxiety plays a major part in that. And then they're it doesn't help when people are well, your life seems fine, or all be why are you complaining? No matter what, things can build up to a point where it just completely destroys you. And
everybody also can put on a persona. Sometimes I have this fake laugh, and whenever I hear it, sometimes I don't even realize I do it, and then after I do it, I'm just what was that?
Why
that wasn't my laugh. And my friends call it out too, and they're Sophie? Because it's just you're trying to please other people.
Or a fake smile.
I don't want to burden you with my problems, so I'm just gonna keep it to myself, and then that's just gonna get worse and worse down the road for the anxiety.
Right.
There's a lot of people that walk around school with a fake smile on their face every day, whether it's because of anxiety or depression or anything.
Yeah, and too much stress leads to anxiety, and too much anxiety leads to depression, and these are all like bad mental problems to have.
And I don't think there's ever a way to not have anxiety. Like, I'm sure even like, I'm most positive everybody has anxiety. And for it to be blown off as something that, going on to the more seriousness of some people take prescription for anxiety. And for people to blow it off, like, I don't understand why you need to be on, like, prescription for that. Because you just need to be positive. And sometimes it's really, really hard to be positive in those situations. And you don't know what situation somebody's in either.
Yeah, I can't look at either of you two and say what's going on in your brain right now. I can make assumptions of what you're thinking. Like, I'm assuming you're thinking about anxiety right now, but maybe in your head there's like this whole different railroad going on.
And it still also goes back to, like, why are you getting worked out about that? Because my life, what's going on in my life now is a lot worse than what's going on in your life. Like, we all have our demons.
Yeah. One time, I did a poem one time, and I remember that, like, my last line was, like, a mask can go two ways. You can block the demons out, it can keep them in. And so, you can always just put on a smile, or just kind of even if you're staring off, like, you're not, like, trying to burden other people.
Yeah.
And
a lot of
hold it
people,
on.
too, when they see how you are as, it goes back to, like, pointing out the bad in people. They see the one time you snap. The one time it just gets so overwhelming and you're tired and you're done. And then they're like, I can't be around that person anymore. Because that one time they saw you snap because it just got too much.
Yeah.
They have to know the difference. And, like, when you're at school, I know by the end of school, like, I just have all this, because at this point, you've gone through all, like, 7 classes, like, and you're in your 8th hour for once it's the end of the day. And, so I just, in my head, I have, this is like, I did all of this, I have to make sure I complete all this homework tonight. Blake and Adam got in a fight today, and I don't know why they did, and that's going to create a drift in our friend group. Like, all that stuff goes through your mind, and that's just one day of school. It's only Monday.
Yeah.
Like, so, and it just gets progressively worse, and so, with school, I don't think people understand, like, if it gets to you, it gets to you. Like, you can't control what affects your head. And then that's kind of with relationships, too.
Yeah. There are certain things that just trigger it. There's, like, things that you don't normally trigger your anxiety that just kind of happen because of how much has been built up. That just random things that don't normally trigger that. Just
Not only that, it's also like the fact of, I'm not saying, again, I'm not saying all guys are like this, but you see guys that are like, they hold everything in, and I just feel us girls are so much more emotional, so then, like, our breaking point's a lot sooner than guys. And then a guy is always, say in a relationship, the guy always wants to help you, but when you go to help them, they just shut down on you. And that's obviously not healthy.
Mm-hmm. But
But they're like, I don't want to present you with my burdens. And they're like, I don't know. It also kind of is like how you view someone, how you view a guy is like somebody who does it, I don't know. Girls are always viewed as more emotional, and guys are just viewed as manly, masculine.
Yeah, the
And
stereotype.
they don't, yeah, stereotype. And they don't have problems, or they deal with it, but, like, they deal with it on their own, and that's very toxic.
And then there's, like, other toxic masculinity where if I was an emotional guy and you weren't, you'd pick me down, and then that'd just get in my head, and then I'd just be like, why are my friends saying this about me? Like, what's going on? I don't understand. And then that's forming all this anxiety within you because you're just, like, your brain just doesn't comprehend it.
Here's a question that wasn't in our notes or anything like that, but I think it needs to be answered. Who do you think has more anxiety, girls or guys? I personally would say probably guys, because of not only from that stereotype, but of how much they have to keep in. And us girls, even though I feel like we have a lot to do and stuff like that, we let it out eventually. Guys, it gets to a point like where there's no return with some of it.
Right. I'd say it just depends, because some guys they honestly, like, they look like they don't care and they just honestly don't care.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna do stupid stuff, don't blame it on, like, what's going on in your head mentally. One time you messed up, okay, like, it's understandable. If it's like a repeated offense, you can't keep blaming it on, like, your mental health problems, because anxiety is not going to make you do. That's all gone.
Now it is.
Anxiety is not going to make you, like, always question every single thing, like, at every single moment. It's not going to make you question whether I type my name capitalized or lowercase.
That's true. That's very true. or the standard wait time you answer somebody for a text message because you don't want it to seem like you're desperate.
Oops. Well, don't sell anybody out there, Heaven.
And like some ways to cope with it is there's a lot of ways that work for some people and they may not work for others. So you just kind of have to try different things until one of them works.
I'll go and start with mine. Whenever I would do this a lot, and like in the fall, is whenever like I don't really show with my body, like whenever like I'm just really stressed out, my anxiety levels are peaking, so I just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. I just go like that, and then I just restart, and I would just do that, and then it would just take my mind off of it because I'd have to make sure I double tapped, and then and that's what I would just concentrate on.
That's a good idea.
I started it one time while I was golfing, and then I've done it since then. And it's just like you have to find those little things. Like you can follow what other people do, and I know a popular one's like counting, like taking 10 really deep breaths, and that works for some people, and some people it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Mine would be probably I have to walk out of the room, otherwise, or I have to.
You're a pacer.
Yeah, I am most definitely a pacer. Like, I'm like, okay, I need to do this and this, or I need to walk out of the room or if, like, 5 different people are coming out after me, like, with one thing, or I have 5 different things to do, I'm just like, okay, stop. Like, just stop. Okay, let's focus on this subject first. What do I need to do for this? All right, write it down. Let's do this. Writing things down, too, is so helpful for anxiety. Like anything that's bothering me, I'll write it down and then I'll be like, okay, we'll come back to this later, but right now I need to focus on this, but these are my emotions, I feel like. And then also talking it out helps too.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same as Heaven, but there is also a lot of like sometimes you just completely break down. Normally it's when I'm alone, I'll just let it all out, but I was also told one time, and it didn't really help me, but I don't know, it could help someone else. If you just close your eyes and imagine any color wherever, so in your head where your anxiety is, you just imagine this ball of color, and it leaving your body. You just imagine it leaving. I don't know. It didn't help me, but maybe it'll help someone else.
You never know.
Yeah.
And then if your anxiety is because somebody's telling you, I know a lot of times I feel just very overwhelmed, and I'll be told, here's the plan, here's how your week's laid out, and that just makes me think it's like, oh my god, I have to do all of that this week. Plus on top of that, I'm going to get school assignments, and on top of that, I have to do the books or whatever, and that just all builds up, and then in me, I'm just like, oh my god. And so in an instance like that, you just have to know to talk it out, but that doesn't always work if you're not comfortable.
Yeah, you have to be comfortable with the person, and it has to be a helpful person, not just someone who's gonna sit there and be like, okay, or you talked it to me, you said what you needed to say, but like they don't help you with it.
Right, and then I was really scared like to tell like right, just talk about it with like some of my closest friends, but you know, I just found someone who has like gone through it before, and I was just like, what's like, I don't even know what to do. And so then like they eventually over time like they a lot of times when I was going through like anxiety attacks, they would tell me just give me advice, and then over time I collected like, this works for me, because you can't just say this didn't work for me, I'm just done trying to like solve it and like try to like lower my anxiety. You can't just say I'm just always gonna be this bad, because that's not gonna get you anywhere.
And this topic kind of is why we made the podcast, because like the name, Crying in My Pillow, you just go through the entire day and it just builds up and builds up and builds up, and you get home and you go to your bed and you just sit there and think and cry and you just think about everything, which
It's the end of the day, that's when everything, that's when your world just collapses, hits rock bottom.
And you don't have time to really think. You're like, how am I going to do this? Like, it just gets so overwhelming. And you're like, you know what fixes everything? Just a good cry.
ice cream.
Nope, a good cry. Because then you get
Crying
a really good
and
nap
ice cream.
afterwards.
Yeah, but then you have a headache.
Okay, you cry with ice cream and then you take a nap. That's what I do.
Yeah, you have your messy bun on, your mascara's running down your face, you're eating just a huge tub of ice cream in your bed,
Yeah.
and you have a good
That's not
cry.
very sanitary.
Well,
Don't come back with
that's how it works. Go to Dairy Bell.
No, you just go to GG or something like that and buy a big old quart-sized container of ice cream of your
Of
pick.
course.
Be like, write your name on
You
it.
can get a
Nobody
quart
else is
from
allowed
Dairy
to
Bell.
touch it. It's too much work because I gotta wait in the line.
You go at a good time.
And so, thank you for listening in today. This is this is kind of like a personal episode for like all of us, because we all deal with anxiety, but we all deal with it in different ways. And yeah, like Caitlin said, this is why we made this podcast, to like let people know that it's okay to feel what you're feeling, and you're not wrong for feeling what you feel.
It really helps too if you guys comment and like say, okay, well here's some other ways, because we want ideas. We want ideas on how this is how we cope with things. What are some other ways that you cope with things if somebody else wants to cope with things? Because like Caitlin said, some things don't work. Some things don't help. So there's different ways you can cope and different ways you can deal with things, and we're trying to find the healthiest way and the best way to cope with things that give our life a hard time and seem like they're not going to turn for the better. Cut that part out. Is that it?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening in today.
Woo! Partay.
I should have ended